friends, and welcome back. Now today we are going to just look at the year ahead and see what it's like to plan a Walt Disney World trip, because honestly the first question I get from so many people is, hi, I would like to go to Walt Disney World and where do I start? So let's talk about it. All right, well, without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. Now again, I know so many people have talked about it. Going to Walt Disney World now is not as, what's the word? Spontaneous. It is not as easy. It is not as carefree and easygoing as it may have been in the past. There is a lot of advanced planning and a lot of advanced education that you need to know in order to fully enjoy your trip. And unfortunately, that is just the way it is. If you are new here, hi, I am Miranda. I am not local, so I can tell you what it is like to plan and to travel like a tourist to Walt Disney World, because that is what I am every time I go. I like to think of myself as your Disney bestie and who keeps it real and make sure that I don't sugarcoat anything and just make sure that you have a great time, because I love to have fun at Walt Disney World and I feel like everybody else should too. Now, yes, I do say it is complicated, and I'm not lying. Like, there is a lot of pre-planning that has to go into a Walt Disney World vacation. You can't just say, I'm gonna go next week, even though I've never been before, or I haven't been in 15 years, but I remember what it was like back then. Like, you can't just show up and expect, honestly, to have a good time, unfortunately. There are some things you have to know in order to make sure that you have the most magical time possible. So you wanna go to Walt Disney World. Amazing, love that for you. If you haven't been in forever, if it is your first time, even if you go every now and then you think you have a pretty good idea of it, just stick around. Let's hear what we've got to say, because it really is just so different now. There is a lot of pre-planning that has to go into it, and there is a lot of like educating yourself so you feel confident when you're there and you're not scrambling and on your phone the entire time. You want to be able to enjoy yourself in the park, and in order to do that, it's going to take a lot of pre-planning. Now, obviously, the main thing that can help you with all of this is a certified travel agent. Somebody who is authorized at Disney Vacation Planning. For example, just saying, as you may know, I am a travel agent that specializes in Disney destinations. My services are completely free, and how that works is actually when you book your vacation through Walt Disney World, so either your room or your package, so room plus tickets, or like a 3-day or more ticket, there is a commission built into that price already through the Disney website. And so if you book through Disney, Disney just keeps it, or they give that money to a travel agency, which then pays out the travel agent who booked it. So you pick. It literally costs you nothing. And honestly, a travel agent is going to help you the most, especially in this year of 2023. And so let me tell you everything that you need to know, and just know that a travel agent will help you with any of this going along the way. So first things first, you want to go to Walt Disney World. Who's all going? Is it your friends? Is it your family? Are you traveling with kids, all adult humans? Like, and then you have to figure out, let's figure out when we're going. What time of year are we going? Now, everybody's like, oh, well, when's the least busy time? That doesn't exist anymore. I used to say, oh gosh, yeah, here are like 5 weeks that it's like dead. Nobody is there. You can walk on every attraction, but that is not the case anymore. Now, obviously, if you have some flexibility, that is great. But some people don't. Some people are like, I have to travel over spring break, I have to travel in the summer, or I have to travel around holidays. And that's okay. No matter what, like, you're gonna be in Walt Disney World and it will be magical if you do the pre-planning and figuring everything out ahead of time. But obviously, if you have a little more leeway, it's great. Now, here's what I have to say about going during spring breaks and holidays. Going in knowing it's going to be busier than most times, that's what's important. And even when it's not a busy time, it's still going to be busy. You have to tell yourself that you will be waiting in line. You are at Walt Disney World and you will wait. Like, that's just the name of the game. Even with lightning lanes galore, there will still be some waiting. And then also going in the summertime, things you have to think about is weather, or just not even summer, hurricane season, things like that. It's going to be hot. It's going to rain. You have to keep those things in mind. If you're going in January, it's going to be chilly. Like, it's not pool days. It's 50 degrees sometimes. Like, it can be cold. It's the mindset that is the most important. Like, I remember, again, I always say, like, I don't like going in the summer, but I go in the summer. And I always say, Orlando summer times, the weather, it feels like if your dryer is mid-cycle and you open it up and you stick your whole body into it and it's like that damp, musty, hard to breathe. Yeah, that's what it's like. But as long as you know that going in and you pack your fans, you pack your cold towels, lots of water, finding air conditioning, taking breaks, going in with that mindset, that is going to be a game changer. So figure out when you want to go. What time of year? The next part is, how many days do you want to go? Now, there are 4 Walt Disney World theme parks, and you can either do 1 park per day or park hoppers. I personally, in my opinion, if it is your first time going or if it's been a long time, and I always say just do 1 park per day. Focus on 1 park per day. Now, if you've gone multiple times in a year and you're blessed enough to do that, absolutely do a park hopper. You get it. You know how to get around. But if you're visiting for the first time in a long time or for the first time, just do 1 park per day. There is so much to do in each and every park that you will want 1 entire park per day. Now, if you don't have 4 full days, then you're going to have to do some picking and choosing. And that's going to be pulling up lists of attractions at each park, rides, shows, nighttime entertainment, and kind of deciding which park is best for you. Now, if you have younger ones, obviously you're going to want to go to Magic Kingdom and you're not going to want to cut that out. If you have older adults who like to eat and drink, probably Epcot, or honestly, like any of the parks. Like, follow me if you're an adult who likes to do those things, and I can absolutely help with that at some point as well. But there's definitely something to do with for every age group in every park, so you are going to have to decide. So once you kind of figure out what time of year and how many days you want, you're probably going to want to set a budget. Because that's going to help determine where you stay on Walt Disney World property. You have your 3 categories of resorts, which I've talked about in the past. Your value resorts, moderate resorts, deluxe resorts. So what makes the most sense for you and who you're traveling with? It is very common for someone to say, oh, well, I'm not going to be in the room at all, so it doesn't matter where I stay. I don't necessarily believe that, because I have once traveled with 4 grown adults, and I've stayed at Pop Century Resort. And now Pop Century, since renovated, is 1 queen bed and then a Murphy pull-down bed. And let me tell you, getting ready in the morning, even at night, like trying to relax, everybody taking showers, with 4 adults in that small of a room when the Murphy bed is down as well, chaos, pure chaos. And that is not me dragging value resorts. I do think there is a value to value resorts in a time and a place, but obviously your better accommodations are going to be those moderate and deluxe resorts. That's just how it is. But having a budget is really, really great to have in mind, because you can look at deluxe and moderate resorts and there is probably going to be a promotion available, which is always great. There are still some benefits to staying on Disney property. Most importantly, the 30-minute early park entry, which happens every single day for every theme park. I don't think you understand how clutch that 30 minutes is. It may not seem like a lot of time, but it absolutely is, especially if you are not interested in purchasing Genie Plus for the day, which we can talk about later, or individual lightning lane. That 30 minutes will truly help cut down on wait times throughout your park day. There's also extended hours in the evenings for those staying at some deluxe resorts There are also some park days where they offer extended evening hours for guests staying at certain deluxe resorts. There's now free parking that they just announced last week, something like that, at the Disney resorts. And also the ability to make all of your dining reservations for every single day right at the 60-day mark, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So once you figure out where you want to stay, how long you want to stay, all of that, then it's time to book your package. Now, Disney requires a $200 deposit for your package, which is your room plus your park tickets. Now, everybody in the room has to be on the same ticket package, so if one person wanted 3 days and the other person wanted 4 days, that could not be. You would have to do a room only reservation and then buy your park tickets separate. But it is much easier when everybody is just doing the same thing. I also don't think I mentioned when it comes to the tickets, if you're doing one park per day or a park hopper, you can't just do 1 day of a park hopper. It would have to be all or nothing for park hopper tickets. So once you figure all of that out, it is time to book. You put down the $200 deposit, and from there, you have your reservation. It can be modified however you want it to up until that 30-day mark. So if your dates change, if you're like, oh, hey, I actually want to add a 5th park day, change resorts, oh, there's a promo available, but it's not for my current resort, but this other resort actually makes it cheaper and it's a little bit nicer, you can modify your package that way. That's something that's great about having the package. It's super easy to modify online, which is great as well. And then you will have to make your final payment 30 days prior to travel. So all of those plans do have to be set in place up until that 30 days. Once you are booked with your vacation package, now it is time to put it in your My Disney Experience. That is Disney World's website. My Disney Experience is the name of the planning portion of the Walt Disney World website for you personally. So that is what the app is called, and that's basically any time you need to go in and do something with your vacation, it's under My Disney Experience on the Disney World website. You put in your hotel reservation and you make sure all of your friends and family are located on your account. Now, if they don't have an account with Disney, and remember, this is ESPN, this is ABC, this is Disney Plus, all of those are the same account. So keep that in mind. So if anybody has one of those accounts, you can actually invite them to join you on My Disney Experience through the friends and family portion of the My Disney Experience site. That way they are able to use their own login and see all of the reservations and things on their end as well. The next thing you would do after you have your resort reservation linked is to make your park passes. Now, park pass reservations are something that are new since the pandemic, and that basically means that you are choosing ahead of time which park you are starting at on which day. There is a park reservation calendar that is always available to look at to see if there is still park pass availability for certain parks. I will say as of lately, it does seem like reservations are much wider and it's easier to get reservations at a last minute, but that's beside the point. You're going to want to look at a few things. Say you're going in October or November and there are typically Halloween parties or the Christmas party. You're going to want to keep that into account because Magic Kingdom will be closing early. So keeping an eye on park hours and making your decision from there, that is how I typically make my park pass reservations. That's what you have to do at first. And again, we can modify those around as long as there is park pass availability, so keep that in mind. Then when it gets closer to that 60-day mark, that is when you are going to start making your dining reservations. Now, dining reservations are for table service restaurants, aka what you think of when you think of a typical restaurant. You go, you sit at a table and you are served, versus a quick service restaurant, which is counter service. You mobile order something or you go up to a counter, you order a quick service item and you can walk and take it. You can take it to go. You can go, they have usually seating elsewhere. That's a counter service. So you're not being served, you're picking up your food at a counter. Table service restaurants basically require reservations ahead of time. Now, I know there are some restaurants that do walk-up availability where day of you can see if you can put your name in for a walk-up. And honestly, I don't trust it. It's not, it is not something I trust. If you want to sit down at a table service restaurant, please just make a reservation. You can cancel it 2 hours prior to when the reservation time is. So just in order to make sure that you have a table service that day, if you think you want to take that break for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be, just make the reservation ahead of time. It It's so easy to look at the menus for every restaurant, every quick service place, wherever. So you can get a pretty good idea of like, oh, I think I would like that. Or, oh, I want to dine with Mickey and Minnie at this buffet, but what do they have to offer? My kid's a picky eater. You can look ahead of time. It really just lays it all out, and it is incredibly easy. And if you don't want a table service restaurant, if you are a-okay having quick service meals for lunch and dinner and maybe like a snack for breakfast, absolutely. It is a very, like, you can do your entire trip without having a table service restaurant. And there are some people who love to do that. And then there are some people who like to do 2 table service restaurants in a day, which I think is a little much just because it takes so much time away from spending in the parks. You'll feel like you're eating a lot, just sitting there eating. So I always recommend, if you do want to do table service, do 1 per day. But at that 60-day mark at, 6 a.m. Eastern time, it's actually 5 a.m. Central time for me, you would wake up, make sure you're logged into My Disney Experience, make sure your credit card is saved on your account because that's what you need to guarantee a reservation, and you would make those reservations ahead of time. Now, sometimes lately, Disney has not been releasing all restaurants right at that 60-day mark. So you'll have to be persistent. You can use a third-party dining availability watch alert website, or you can have your travel agent do it for you, which is honestly the easiest option. Another thing you have to do prior to visiting Walt Disney World, which is new now since there's no more Magical Express, is figuring out how you are going to get to the property. Now, if you are flying in through Orlando International Airport, there are some options, but again, they're all paid options. You could either rent a car, which now there is free parking at Disney resorts, so you could rent a car. You could take another shuttle transportation that was similar to Magical Express but is now paid for, which is Mears Connect. You could do Uber, Lyft, any rideshare, which is what I personally do that, but I also am not traveling with small children who need car seats and all of that. Or you could do personal transportation, which is what I would set up as a travel agent. And that's like somebody with their car, like, oh, the Smith family, picking them up and driving them to and from the property. And note, that is the more expensive option, but it is completely up to you how you would like to travel. But I would make sure that that is all set up prior to your trip. Now, the next thing that you don't technically have to do, but I highly, highly recommend you do it, is familiarize yourself with the Walt Disney World app, which is My Disney Experience. They now have Disney Genie, which is the itinerary portion of the app, which I've never personally used because I don't need to see feathered friends in flight or whatever it's called at Animal Kingdom. Please stop suggesting that to me. It's just never worked out in my favor, which is why I enjoy making itineraries for clients, because I know that they're giving me their personal recommendations, whereas this app is giving everybody the same recommendation and it's not personalized at all. But what you're going to need to do is familiarize yourself, especially with the tip board, and looking around at Genie Plus before traveling, if that is something you are interested in. If you have not heard, Genie Plus is the new Fast Pass system that they offer at Walt Disney World, and it does cost money. Now, it is surge pricing, so it is dependent on how busy it is at Walt Disney World. The Genie Plus could range between $15 per person per day to currently the highest price we've seen is $29 per person per day. The pre-planning part with Genie Plus is familiarizing yourself with the app, watching other people's videos of how to do it, and reading up on it yourself from the notes that your travel agent gives you or things you found on the internet. You do not decide if you are purchasing Genie Plus until that day. Now, I will do another video entirely on Genie Plus, what attractions you need to try for, the virtual queue, individual lightning lane, all of that very complicated stuff at a later date. But I think that is everything that you need to know to pre-plan for your vacation, so before you actually get to Walt Disney World. But the more you plan ahead and the more research you do, the more assistance you get from a travel agent, it is going to set you up for a very successful and magical vacation. I just know it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel. I will be coming out with videos very often to help you with your planning process, to show my planning process, outfits, merch hauls, all that fun stuff, packing, because we all know I like to show how I little pack my suitcase and things like that. But yeah, so if you have any questions or any topics you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you all in my next video. I remembered it. Okay, bye.